Yahoo Teda. Yahoo Teda. Peace to the family and what's happening. It's gonna be a little bit of everything going on tonight. Oh, this is what I wanted to ask you too. What can we do to be able to play music? Is it something we got to pay, or is it?
We won't be able to do it on a social media platform. You have to choose another platform that's going to allow you to play stuff without getting pulled. So there's like,
how are you able to do it here at the radio station?
We have a license to broadcast through our radio station website and app. So I have to pay an umbrella fee to ASCAP, BMI, CSEC for us to be able to play music just through that platform, but it doesn't apply to social media.
Oh, so once I put it on social media, then it takes that. I got you.
And then it'll either silence it or just pull it down.
Okay, I got you.
There are two places in which you could show something visually and play music, but they aren't social media platforms. One's called Mixcloud. The other one is, I think, Bandcamp has a live stream thing.
I've heard about Bandcamp before. Yeah, just something for me to think about because I want to be able to, because that really, I always forget we can't do that. So a large percentage of what I was going to do tonight was like, I wanted to go through some of those old school joints. And just show the difference. Musically, videos and stuff like that. I was looking at MC Light, Moni Love, Smooth Tea, or Sweet Tea that on the Smooth Tip. That used to be my joint. Yeah. So I was just looking, and it was just a huge difference, and I just wanted to be able to show, but I wanted to do it with the men too, because it's one thing. And so I made a mistake. The Canaanites encountered the Israelites before the Phoenicians did. Even more interesting, I didn't realize that all those guys, Semites, are all in the places where the Hebrews traveled in the wilderness. Thank you, Daniel. All I'm saying is, bro, I'm your brother, man. I'm not gonna play like that. When I know you respect my scholarship, but when you get fired up, Daniel be fired up. But the thing is, bro, I'll work my ass off to be able to deliver this information to y'all. I'm not gonna play with y'all because look, the reason why I know it, I just did it. I got a new joint I did called Jews, Gentiles, and Crocodiles. I was wrong. Wrong. How you figure? You said the Canaanites encountered the Israelites before the Phoenicians. Even more interesting, I didn't realize that all those guys and Semites are in the places where the Hebrews travel in the wilderness. I don't see the Canaanites encountered the Israelites before the Phoenicians. We're going to deal with this on a different show. Now you're going to make me cook you. I was wrong. Bro, go watch. I did one called Jews, Gentiles, and Crocodiles. I break the whole thing down, who the Jews really is, their connections and all that shit, bro. And I got the receipts. I don't play with this shit, man. But we're gonna chop it up at a later date. I might have to put you in a headlock one-on-one or something. So when you got company, you don't know how to act. I might have to put you in a headlock when it's just me and you. So you go kind of relax a little bit, and then those people are Hebrews, and that their guys were the guys of the Hebrews. I'm trying to say First of all, what I'm really trying to say is you have to go find the Hebrews in antiquity for us to even have this conversation. That's the first problem. The second problem is you have to be able to separate these people calling themselves Hebrews from the people who was allowed to come into Egypt, and they came as goat herders, and they left with a religion and a belief system. And then that would explain why they told you Moses spent 40 years in Egypt. How can you spend 40 years someplace and not be a native to that place? So these is all the games they playing. But now, if you want to go back into you do some origin shit, you're going to find out once you start tracing the origins, you're going to find out that Canaan was divided into two sections. And guess who stayed in the other section? That's all I'm saying. So that, and I got the receipts for that too. We ain't gonna do it tonight. Tonight we're gonna deal with relationships. But I'm just letting you know that's a discussion I'm willing to have, and I'm gonna bring some receipts for you too. But I put it all in a body of work. I always put my thoughts out there to be critiqued. So if anybody want to check my you wrong again, Moses was literally born in the Pharaoh's house. Moses was born in the Pharaoh's house. Wasn't that an Egyptian Pharaoh? What the fuck are we talking about right now? Which Pharaoh? A non-Egyptian Pharaoh? Moses was born in a non-Egyptian Pharaoh house? Was he found on the doors? Was he put a baby in a basket and put on the doorsteps? Was born in the Pharaoh's house. I thought he got put in a basket and got sent to the Pharaoh's house. It ain't a question that Moses is a native to Egypt, is my point. So if he's a native to Egypt, how is he not Egyptian? What are we talking about here? How can you be native to a place and that not be who you are? Anyway, right, you're right. He was put in a basket. You're right about that. Okay, he was put in a basket. And where did he end up at? He ended up at the Pharaoh house, allegedly. And he went through all of the mystery schools. He was a teacher. He went to school for 40 years in Egypt. You had to spend 30, 40 years in a temple to be a high level initiate back then. So in order for him to be able to teach at that level, he had to spend decades in the temple. Just what I do. But either way, we're gonna deal with. We can revisit that because Sunday, again, every Sunday I'm firing at religion heavy. So this Sunday, I got a heavy one. I ain't even gonna tell y'all the title. Y'all might leave the room. But I'm gonna get ill on y'all this Sunday. So just make sure y'all tap in Sunday. I'm gonna drop the title after tonight. I ain't telling y'all tonight. But look though. So what we want to deal with though is we're gonna deal with black relationships, this battle of the sexes, and what is really the issue amongst black men and black women. And the thing of it is, when I put the Yahoo Queen, when I put the question out there, what's the biggest problem with relationships? Nobody said everything all good, you tripping. Everybody had their own version of what they think the problem is. So here's what that means. That means that every last one of us know it's a problem and we ain't willing to do shit about it. Because nobody said, well, back in the day, they used to say, well, that's just them type of females you be with. It ain't like that with everybody. And then dudes used to be like, that's just like them bum ass dudes you be with. We ain't like that over here. I ain't hear that this time. Soon as I opened the doorway with what's wrong, everybody had a laundry list. So we know something wrong, and we ain't willing to do nothing about it. We just want to be right. So there lies the problem. You got a bunch of damn know-it-alls that don't know shit. That could be an issue. Battle of the sexes, I called it though. Is there a battle of the sexes? Is there such thing? I think that's relevant because I have yet to go on any social platform and don't see men and women complaining about each other. And so, why? What is the problem? What is the complaint? All the religious people just left. Damn, we should have made it a Christian night. See, nobody want to talk about what's wrong with us. Now y'all want to talk about the Bible all of a sudden. I've been trying to talk about the Bible like crazy every week. Now when it's time to talk about why we fucked up, everybody want to get religious tonight. Why I tell you, they scattered up out of here. Boy, you can't. I can't win with you peoples. I can't win with you peoples. Now we should be talking about Christianity, huh? So I say I went and looked at my last lecture of this sort, and I had the number wrong. I told y'all Battle of the Sexes. We on 4. Actually, I've done 3 of these things already. And I tried to put it up too late, but y'all wasn't gonna do it no way. I tried to put up the last one so y'all could watch it. I put it up earlier today. I should have put it up sooner. But man, I should be y'all don't pay me enough. I should be, back in the old days, people like me, they used to sit me at the front of the village in my own hut, and nobody was allowed to speak to me. And everything was free. All my food and expenses was free as long as I stayed in there and told the truth. Because my predictions, I'm down there got a crystal ball. Every damn thing I said in that lecture down there came true. Every prediction I made, that shit is spooky. The queen was like, damn, you were saying that way back then? This last lecture from like 2-3 years ago, the queen was like, you were saying that way back then? It's a lot of things that we up against. Yahoo family, peace, God. It's a lot of things that we up against that we don't see. And so when we're talking about the relationships between a black man and a black woman and what's really the issue, it's issues that start before we get to us. And I think that's why it's so hard for us to pinpoint a finger on it. Now, I made the joke, but I was being serious that I've been trying to talk about religion for the last couple of weeks, and y'all been running from it. Now tonight, we're supposed to talk about there go my bro. What's going on? St. Louis, what's happening, baby? How you feeling, God? Now, I've been dying to beat up on religion, and y'all been running from it. Now, tonight, I said, well, let's deal with black relationships. And now, everybody want to deal with religion all of a sudden. Religion, we're going to deal with on Sunday. I mean, it's always open season of religion. To be honest with you, we're going to deal with it tonight. It's everything it's the way these things have to happen. We need to understand that most of the time, our issues and problems is multifaceted. So anytime the problem or the solution is a singular thing, you probably not in the right area because this is a multi-angle thing coming at us. So from the entry level layer, a war was fought. And I feel like I have to say that because I feel like it puts us in a perspective that we don't normally look at outwardly. So we have to understand all of this started with wars, various wars all over the planet. And people will lie, and history will fabricate and tell you that these were not religious wars, but that's all there's ever been is religious wars. Because it's always been people praising various systems. Okay. So if I praise a certain system and you praise the exact same system, we usually can find a commonality. But if we don't share the same belief in what the world is about, then of course that's going to lead to an altercation. So now in this altercation, you're going to pray to whoever you believe in, and you're going to ask that deity to give your people strength and lead y'all through this war. And then there's other people going to pray to their deity and ask for the same thing. And whoever wins is going to thank their God for delivering them the victory. And you will continue to worship that God. Whoever loses is going to go turn to their God and say, I must have been unworthy because you didn't allow us to be victorious. So whether people call it a religious war or not, it's always the undertone. But war is the underlying thing that's important. And the reason why it's important, because it establishes what you call a framework for the discussion. So now it allows everything to be put in perspective because, okay, if this is war, if you look at the current situation of the melanated man and woman, the indigenous man and woman in America, we'll use America. You could look at it and see, okay, these are people who lost war. So now, as a result of that, you're going to see the behaviors of a people who have been captured, taken over, or have lost a war. Because that pattern of behavior will be determined by what's allowed within the new system you're under. You see what I'm saying? That's why it's important just to start with that little piece. We ain't got to deal with it, but that's important to understand because through the door, then we understand the behavioral patterns, thoughts, beliefs, and behavioral patterns of a group of people. Shared thoughts, beliefs, and behavior patterns of a group of people is a culture. Okay, so when you've been captured or lose or lost in war, your thoughts, behavior patterns, and shared culture become that of what is allowed by those who captured you. Which means at the moment where any race of people lose a war and get captured, from that point on, they begin to be culturally shaped to fit the new culture. That is so fucking important. Because then that will help you understand 75% of your damn existence. Because now we have to now start from the back and work our way. You say, okay, well, that was hundreds of years ago. What the hell do any of that have to do with 2023? Okay, that's a good point. So the fact that we even have to have this discussion in 2023, that says a lot right there. So now in 2023, we're looking at a world where both the man and the woman are happy to identify with the lowest aspects of our culture. We proudly identify with the lowest aspects of our culture. And then comes the justification. See, there is no justification when you visually are performing. It doesn't matter what you believe, what you think, what you tell yourself. Visually, it can be verified that we are performing at the lowest threshold. We are performing at the lowest level of consciousness, universally. So let's go back to what we said a few minutes ago. Rewind the tape real quick. When any group of people go to war and they lose the war, they now begin to be shaped up under the helm of the new culture. Thoughts, behaviors, and combined beliefs. Thoughts, behaviors, and combined beliefs is what make up your culture. So those thoughts, behaviors, and combined beliefs now have been restructured by their current situation. So now this is the issue. So right away, you have a group of people who, now you get to 2023, generations and generations and generations down the line, are performing at the lowest level, but having no comprehension of what the highest level actually is. Only thing you ever did was heard stories. You never actually witnessed it. It's just stories. So now, then you have to say, who benefits from what's happening right now? My live ended on FB. I don't think so. It's still people over here. It's just going in and out. They be hating on FB once I get to cooking. But so now, once you are operating under a manufactured system, a system in which, remember, it started, this all started with the fact that you have been conquered and lost at war. That's like many, at some point or another, every group on this planet has lost a war. Excuse me. Okay, so it was your turn. You got your ass kicked. So now, as a result of losing this war, you get conquered. Now, as a result of conquest, you will now be restructured under a new system. This new system, generations down the line, will become your culture. This will become what you identify with. Okay, so now it's just like if you born into a family that's in the Buddhism, that's going to be your primary thing that you learn all growing up. You're going to grow up in your house with a statue of Buddha, pictures and all that. And it's just going to be second nature to have this belief. It's not a no-brainer whether Buddha is real or not, because you was born under this system. We have to understand this is important because this dictates everything. It dictates how you're going to relate to the world. So now, because our belief system, the God we serve, and what we think moralistically translate to how we deal with the rest of the world. Give you a perfect for instance. when you go, we can go pre-civil rights, when you know, we was getting stood on and getting talked to any kind of way and couldn't really do much about it. And then when you get home from work, you was hard as hell on your wife and child. The slightest thing could get their ass roughed up because it was the place where you had power. So you really was taking out on them what you couldn't express in another scenario. So you're gonna see a whole lot of us lashing out on each other what we can express, where the real anger and frustration is placed at. So now, when you look at today's society, it's confusing and it's intentional. Now, the Bible speaks of this place called Sodom and Gomorrah, where hedonism and sexual appetites just ran rampant, and it was just sin all over the place. What is the difference in our society today? We live in a world now where it's arguable, it's a debatable discussion on whether men should wear women's dresses or not. And even the mere phrase of me saying women's dresses is now an arguable statement to saying, well, why do they have to be women's dresses? And then I could be labeled and looked at as some form of a sexist or transphobic or something to that extent. So I keep referencing this because I learn from everywhere, and it's even doper when it comes from my wives. So when I first brought up the transgender thing, and I made the statement, I said I feel like women aren't mad enough, aren't angry enough, and I still, to an extent, I feel that way. But then she was like, "That's men just dominating another space that women are in. Men are always seeking to dominate the space that women are in." And I didn't look at it like that's like almost a masculine thing she's putting in there. And I never looked at it like that. Men just trying to dominate the space. Like, and then I said, and now they want to be pregnant. And they just had the first man go full term and have a baby or something to that extent. And so that is men trying to dominate women's space once again. And it gets to a point where, like, what? Okay, if men are gonna go into women's space, like no matter what you took from the woman on this chauvinistic ass planet, the one thing you could never strip is the woman from her. But now that's the new attempt to actually out-woman the women. So now you see men who are choosing to live as a woman or to try to attempt that. You're seeing them trying to out-woman the women. And so then that only leaves one thing. If every space that the woman goes, on this planet. No matter what she tries to do, every space she goes into, she's ran out of and told, no, men can dominate this too. The only space left on the planet that men don't seem to want right now is being men. So when you look at today's woman and how we're saying she's too masculine and she's not submissive enough and she's too argumentative and all of these things, keep in mind, she now has to figure out how to navigate a world where men want to out-woman women. And she has to figure that out. In the dating pool now, there are men who consider themselves heterosexual that will convince her to go out on a date with them, show up to pick her up in the fly-ass Lambo with all the hottest jewelry, big dumb pieces on, the door pop up in the air, and he'll hop out in a kilt, iced to death in a kilt with the new J's on, new Gucci loafers on or some shit. And like, that's the new hot shit. And she's got to figure out how to navigate that. If she say, hell no, she like manly men, the pool gets smaller and smaller for her. If she say, well, fucking, my options is getting low, I got to try it. She just walking herself to Bizarro World. Like, we're still trying to figure out how to navigate a man's world. Not my opinion. I'm telling you what the fuck it is. This planet is dominated by masculine figures. Who's heading these wars? Who's president? Rulers of all these nations? I ain't got nothing negative to say about no woman on this planet, but it is what it is. Men rule over this planet. In a planet that men rule over, to date, as it stands, every place that the woman has went, it has always been to find solace from overbearing ass men. And soon as she found her comfort space there, here comes more overbearing ass men dictating what should happen in that space for her. So you look at history from an overview, and it's men controlling women and women trying to find ways to navigate that safely. That's what it's been since we can remember. Men control shit, and women do their best to navigate that shit and stay safe and obtain whatever power is possible while en route. This is the world we live in. So now, it just is what it is. So now, as men, we have to analyze that properly. We have now, I got some information that I could share with y'all that it could turn into a back and forth. But really, if we can go off everything that we have ever read, heard, and can remember, this is a male-dominated planet. Okay, so now, with that being said, if men dominate the planet and always have since we can remember, then whatever it is that you see coming from women is an attempt to navigate a male-dominated planet. Men set the rules. Women find a way to make them work for them. It's reality. Good, bad, or indifferent. It's reality. Now, what women have learned how to do is, in every situation possible, show their value to the men that matter enough to help them navigate properly, which led to a lot of times in situations where it appears men are calling the shots, it's really women behind the scenes advising them. We get that. Overall, they're navigating our world. We have the power outwardly. Women can't drop bombs, control nations, or anything of that nature. And that's not even a bad thing. So now, I said all that to say this. When you look at, let's bring it down to a larger scale. We said this before. Everybody can remember a time. We talk about it all the time. How grandpa didn't play. And back 2-3 generations ago, it was different and all this, that, and the third. Okay. What we're talking about is, this is 2023. So let's go back 80, 40. Let's go back, say about 50, 60 years ago. Men completely dominated their households. You down there couldn't pay a woman in the 60s to say something out of hand to her husband. Wasn't a whole lot of cheating. Wasn't a high level of promiscuity. They had little havens for, they always had the nightlife for the fuck offs to fuck off. But I'm saying on a regular scale, the woman was at home being loyal as fuck. Men have always ran the streets. So what happened? What happened in the 60-year time period that it went from men completely dominating their households to sorry ass nigga got to get out and we don't need these bitches, and he wearing a dress and she got her pants sagging with some Jordans on? Like, what happened? 60 years is not a long time. We're talking about a complete 360 in values and moral compass in 60 years. What happened? That's the issue. We have to know what the last 60 years created for us. And so, first of all, we need to know there's no market for black families. From a capitalistic standpoint, it's not marketable. What can you market to the black family? Now, You can market all kind of shit to the white family, and certain black families will pick up on it. But to the black family as a whole, um, the for the most part, the black family is not a whole. So you can't market to it as a whole. Um, Another thing is the financial levels between Black America and white America is different. So still down south connect, what's happening, baby? So from that level, you can't market to black families. So you can market to baby mamas and baby daddies. Him some Jordans, her some weave. You see what I'm saying? You can market to black people, baby mamas and baby daddies, but to the black family. So why would we promote something that we can't benefit off of? Also, it's not beneficial to white America for a strong black family structure. You would have to do better with education. It was a lot of things would have to change. We always talking about the difference of what happened in white neighborhoods and black neighborhoods, because it's a family structure. So it's gonna be like when you got both parents in the home, the whole home front is gonna be looked at different, because there's certain things that as a man and a woman together, shit functions better when everything in the house is working right. Single parent house homes, and people can't get proper service, and we don't give a shit. So it's just little things like this in society that are important. So now the living conditions dictate a mind frame. So that's why I say there's a huge difference between baby mama and baby daddies and husband and wife. Different mind frames. So this is why a baby mama, baby daddy society is heavily promoted, because in the long run, there's nothing there. We can individually make a shitload of money off baby mamas and baby daddies. What we can't do is market a healthy black household. So now you could look at you could go down memory lane and look at the music. And this is always the catalyst. The music and the movies show you heavily like what happens. So you can see towards the late 80s, female hip hop, well, all hip hop start to shift. So what you had is first of all, it's like any other sport that's male dominated, and they start to bring in the females. So you look at basketball. You look at basketball and you see for all those years it was male dominated. Then the WNBA came. But then when you meet the women, a lot of them had the masculinity thing to them, because it literally will restructure your DNA once you start behaving as the opposite sex. We'll understand that you can reconfigure your DNA through your behavior. So like it's the way that you have a society where at one point it was hard to outwardly find homosexuality. And we're taught it was more people in the closet. This is just a changing of the times. No, the process had to take hold. So, like, for instance, you have females transitioning from being quiet, sweet, and reserved. This new thing called hip hop, and it's hardcore, and it's from the inner city. And so now you got the females that want to, hey, I can do that, which is nothing wrong with that. But now you're in a male dominated arena. So the expectations is going to be, don't come in here acting like no woman. It's men in here. So you're going to come in here and prove you can hold your own with men. We're not going to make a light for you. We're not going to feminize none of that. It's men in here. So in order to break that barrier and prove herself, she has to adapt that masculine overtone to be accepted into this male-dominated arena. Okay, so you see the MC movements coming from the females, the hardcore dressing, sport jackets, Tim boots, MC Light was good for that, the Tim boots and the jackets and shit like that. And so what you're seeing is the combining of masculine and feminine energies, and then you're going to slowly watch how it shifts into something else, because it has no choice but to go in a certain direction now. The harder the men get, the harder the women going to have to get in order to compete. The raunchier the men get, the raunchier the females going to have to get in order to compete. So you'll see this one-upmanship going back and forth throughout the culture that is barely recognizable, but it's always there. And so it gets really heavy in the 90s with Rage, The Brat, Yo-Yo. I mean, these is hardcore, gangster, thugged out females. They wasn't about the kicking sexuality. They was kicking gangsters, blah, blah, blah. And so now that energy is here. And then you see, and was that 86? Push it. Salt and Pepper come through. And now this was a stroke of brilliance because they took a gamble. When dancing was becoming popular again, but the like I said, all the females was promoting that hardcore energy. So Salt and Pepper was like, we hardcore, but we sexy. Now this formula hadn't been used before, so it kind of caught everybody off guard, and it worked. So much so that in '89, 3 years later, they came with a Oaktown 357. MC Hammer brought them out, which was a knockoff of Salt and Pepper, but I think it was 3 of them instead. And so what you're seeing on TV is playing out in reality. Now, y'all can't tell me when Salt and Pepper came with them bodysuits, every female in Black America didn't go grab one. The spandex one-piece bodysuits, every female in the hood had one. It was driving us absolutely mad. And big ass, and I ain't think about that. The primary earring from back then was that big ass pyramid earring that everybody used to wear. And then your hair off to the side and the little crinkles. Y'all know what I'm talking about. That Salt and Pepper style. But now Y'all saying, what the hell does this have to do with anything? It's just like everything else. There's a backstory. See, we could just get in here and talk about why black men and black women don't like each other, but where did it come from is important. So, what it says, does art imitate life, or does life imitate art? Whatever you're seeing playing out on the screen, you're gonna always see in your society. Now, we can argue about who did it first. The rappers got it from the street people got it from the rappers. I don't care who got it from who. You see both of them carrying out the same behavioral patterns. The rap guys and the street guys doing the same shit. The rap females and the street females, and not even the street females, doing the same shit. Now, when they see this salt and pepper thing, they try to catch it with Queen Latifah, and then she started coming, and we didn't even catch what she was doing. I hated that song. UNITY, that's for unity. You gotta let them know you ain't a bitch or a hoe. She was saying the realest shit ever, and we just wasn't listening. Like them lyrics. Like, I listened to that song today. She could have changed. If females had really got behind what she was saying, she could have shifted the whole dynamics of Black America with that shit. She really was on some powerful shit with that unity song, and we didn't even know. Talk about dude got her butt walking down the street, and then he tried to get slick, and she confronted him and stole on him. Now, I don't think that happened, but it was a power thing, and it made a lot of sense. Like, now that I look back at it, like, it was certain people, and it could have been the way the industry was set up. I choose to believe that the industry was still trying to become what it became, so it didn't have complete power at that point, like consolidated power. I think it was still pulling, and the artists had a little bit more freedom back then, is what I believe. And then the companies had to just try to curb what the artist was doing if it went too far one direction. That's my beliefs anyway. I think it gradually they took full control. I don't think they've always had it. But either way, you see, what I'm trying to get at is there's a pattern going on in these movies, in these videos, and you can see it being played out amongst us and in our neighborhoods, and it directly turns into, in my opinion, relationships, Black relationships and relationships amongst melanated people. And so, like, combating this unity, rappers came at Latifah hardcore about that. And you see this emergence of what we call gangster rap. And so we was talking about this last week, how Special Ed said that NWA destroyed Black America. They did. And fuck Corrupt and whoever the fuck else don't like it. See, that's the power of being small. Everything I say don't make the tabloid, so I can say fuck whoever I want to, and it don't even matter. See, fuck Corrupt. And Corrupt, you look like you jump out of vans on little kids or some shit. Whatever you got going on, you need to fix that. I don't know, like, you ain't been right since DMX told you he stole Foxy Brown from you. I don't know if it's the fucking nappy ass face hairs, or I don't know what the fuck's going on. But either way it go, this what I was gonna say, somebody just texted me and threw me off. I don't know, Corrupt, you look like a weirdo. Fix yourself, and before you talk about anything else, is what I was gonna say. But no, like they got on special ed case about that. Just because we had accountability. Fuck NWA. They did ruin Black America. Now they was teenagers. I don't think they really knew what they was doing. And they got famous. They tried to make a way for their family. Maybe they really believe what they was talking about. But yes, they ruined fucking Black America with that trash. Because I loved it growing up. I ain't gonna say I didn't. I also went to penitentiary twice for 7 years. So what the fuck do I know? And I grew up rap music, raised me, and I pretty much lived and hung off the goddamn lyrics. And then y'all could try to front like, well, you wasn't that smart. You a motherfucking lie. All of us did. We followed Tupac. We followed these dudes. We believed in these dudes. Man, I used to love Tretch. Tretch had all of us wearing them tie-up ass hats and shit, walking around with little miniature bats, gang banging. Come on, man. We always own this shit. So it's like we got to understand that it was people controlling this, and they understood what they were in control of later on down the line. So you start to see, and I tell you, another one of the catalysts of Snoop Dogg. Snoop came through, and he was really heavy on the disrespect. We don't love these hoes. Like we wasn't really. I mean, it was coming though. If he hadn't did it, somebody else would have. So when I blame these rappers, I don't blame it on them. Like if it wasn't for them, it wouldn't have happened. If it wasn't for NWA, they'd have made a different NWA. They just happen to be the particular dudes. This is an outside agenda getting pushed, so it doesn't matter uh, who the fuck is what. um they gonna push this bitch. So you got no matter who is uh no matter what, they're gonna push the same agenda, period. You can't what I was gonna say, you it just ain't no it's nowhere around it, because once you got control of a music, you got control of a people. And now you have to take that and finding something to do with all eight of the arms. You're gonna keep finding different ways to extend your control over that thing. So now having this hip hop culture and having control over it allowed it to steer the listeners of it into a certain direction. It's just that simple. I know y'all look at it like I'm too smart for that. Well, no, every kid in the ghetto follow rap music. Y'all just don't want to be honest about it. We all followed rap music and did what the fuck it told us to do. We all had our favorite rappers, and we wore what the fuck they wore and talked about what the fuck they talked about. It's just that simple. And these people in charge of it understood that. So this is where they pushed the dissension at in the music, and then they kept showing us this in the motherfucking movies. But you keep seeing every chance you get, you got a culture that really trashed its own women and made the women love it. So we took the same strategy that the white boy used on us with the word nigger and slavery, and then we reversed that shit to our women. And now, just like they was calling us nigger and they was trying to disrespect the fuck out of us, we turned it into nigger and made it something slick. And now we say it like crazy to each other, and it ain't a problem. So, like initially, when we started calling our women bitches, it wasn't on no cool daddy shit. That really come from the pimp game. Calling our women bitches and hoes, that come from the pimp game. And the pimp mind was just to condition a woman to take all type of mental everything, so that when she was outside uh, earning for him, nothing would phase her, nothing could shock her, nothing would disrupt her from getting money. So he put her through all kind of mental hoops to jump through to prepare her for what would happen outside. So calling your woman all bitches and hoes, that come from the pimp culture. And so we had a whole culture of black women saying they wouldn't sell sex but allowing themselves to be called bitches and hoes. And then it went from that to they wouldn't sell sex, but allowing themselves to be called bitches and hoes to might as well actually be the bitch and the hoe. So now you got women running towards being disrespected, and it is being popularized. So now, same thing we did with the nigga word. Now the white man don't gotta call us nigga no more. Okay, so now, damn, we don't gotta call them bitch no more. They start saying, "What up, bitch? Yeah, bitch, you crazy, bitch." So now they took that word, that bitch word, and that hoe word, and maneuvered it the same way we did being called nigga. Now, here's why when Massa called us nigga, the reason why we reversed it and took the sting out of it is because we knew it was no way that we could stop him from doing it and make him give us the proper amount of respect. So we found a way to get over feeling disrespected and make it not hurt so bad. So the same thing she did when we was disrespecting her so much, she found a way to get over it and make it not hurt so bad. And then we lived in that space. Once we here, we're gonna live there now. So now, for years, we're the only race on the planet successfully making our woman enjoy being addressed as the lowest form of our race. So we calling her bitch and hoe and this, that, and the third, and making her accepted to the point where since she couldn't get you to stop, then she embraced it and then made it cool her own way. This is psychology and this is abuse. So now, when we having conversations about them when they're not around, we like, yeah, man, that bitch said woo woo. Yeah, man, that whole crazy no motherfucker. So it's embedded in our psyche that when even when we having regular conversations about nothing, we're referencing our women as our bitch or our hoe. And convincing ourselves that it's just lingo, it's no big deal. Like all words don't carry vibration and are really, really alive. So now, how long did she endure being our bitch and our hoe? And then she started embracing it and calling herself a bitch and a hoe. And then it turned into, yeah, I'm a hoe, but I'm a good hoe. Right there at that statement, what that's saying is she done got tired of trying to get you to stop saying it. So now she might as well actually be it and be good at it. And so now we in that rabbit hole. All of this has been to find different ways to exist in a male-dominated world and still have some semblance of feeling empowered. Okay, so now, once I, as the man, allow this, I don't have the foresight to see that this can only end one way. It's gonna make our women harder, and more disconnected from femininity because they're being forced out of it. Because when we get the soft nurturing side, we manipulate it. So how long before she says, you know what? We're gonna stop giving this if every time we're gonna give this aspect of us, it get manipulated, we're gonna stop giving this. And especially when every movie and every video, you getting like, you get to throw money at the women, you get to pour champagne on them, you get to be that. Wow. They get to be whatever you say for whatever you feel. So then we wake up to a moment where somebody, I was going to say something so horrible. Somebody hatched Sexy Red. And now, all of this is, we'll put it this way. How do you make a healthy relationship out of these dynamics when it has literally become about who to have sex with tonight? And now that the game is started, it's kind of hard to find an end to it, because now it's a role reversal. And so any attempt to balance it out, you keep hearing it wasn't that big a deal when the men was doing it. And so now the justification for the behavior of women is, and you hear it all the time, would it be looked at the same if men was doing it? Would y'all care? Would y'all say this? Would y'all act like this if men was doing it? Because even to now, you could have a son and you could have a daughter. If your teenage son come home and tell you he had 3 women this week, 3 baddies, pops. I've been on a roll this week. I didn't have me 3 baddies this week. As a father, you congratulate him like, damn, boy, they can't get enough of my son. If your daughter come tell you that, you think she a slut and you ground her for the month. So there's obviously gonna be this double standard there that also women have had to navigate. So now, in that instance, you have a tug of war, a power struggle. Because on one hand, it ain't fair for a woman to do exactly what a man do. She's a slut and the man is a hero. I get the argument. On the flip side, on an energy level, there is a difference. In most sexual cases, women are receiving energy and men are giving it. So, which meaning if she's on the receiving end, she's more susceptible to be emotionally attached to the situation. And y'all think cussing men out, putting them out, and putting them on child support means you don't care. Just because you cuss them out and don't talk to them, you're still emotionally attached. And that's what makes you do those things. So what I'm saying is, this is the dynamics of it. It's simple. Women are receivers of energy. Men are givers of energy. So it's easier to give energy off and get on with your life than it is to receive energy and have to process through receiving other people's energy. So that's the difference, in my opinion. Doesn't make any one side more right or more wrong. It's just the reality of it from a science aspect. So you're gonna have the dynamics where right now, as I said, if men dominate the planet and everywhere women go, men find themselves in that space trying to dominate it. And now the last space left on the planet that women actually have to themselves is the space of being a woman. That's the only thing left on the planet that women actually have that is sacred. And now men have moved into that space and said, I can out woman the women. Well, if men want to out woman women, that means the only space left on the planet available for women is the space of being men. Because men don't seem to want it. They're too busy trying to out women. So the only available space left on the planet where women are not being ran out of is the space of masculinity. Because there's no men there. They're too busy in dresses and shit. So now we're in a society where the new men have become the women and the new women have become the men. Yahoo, peace, queen. So this is what we have to understand. Like I said before, when you're saying that you don't agree with the behavior of the women in our society, and you're saying you don't agree with the behavior of the men in the society, well, let's just take a look at and see exactly what that translates to. So now, the fact that it's the same thing I said on the back end. When men came out, famous rappers, famous actors came out to these events in dresses. Men should have put a stop to it immediately. Usher gets told he's doing the Super Bowl this year. And now, the very next appearance he making in a goddamn dress. I keep telling y'all, it costs. What they say, you got to pay the cost to be the boss. The Super Bowl, that is the most watched event on TV. If you're gonna hear me again, it's the most watched event on TV. So to get the halftime show at the Super Bowl, you're guaranteed you're gonna have a great selling year that year. Whatever you're trying to sell is gonna sell like hotcakes for the rest of the season or for the rest of the year because of that Super Bowl spot. So what do you want to do for it, Usher? Ain't no telling. No, let me stop. Poor Usher. Oh my God, poor Usher. They didn't have a oh, poor Usher. His whole career been like that. They've been had that little boy since he was 12. But now, all BS aside, y'all, we got to really think about this. The women have been once again pushed into a corner, back against the wall, and said, hey, make it happen. And we don't like what we see. We don't like the end results. We say women have gotten too masculine. Okay, let's just say if we want to run with their narrative, where were you at? Where were the men at while this process was happening? What were the men doing? They say women not submissive enough. Okay, but they used to be. So what happened in society that changed it? And this is not a women having no fault type of thing. This is a point of origin. Now, what the women are definitely guilty of is not knowing what they're looking at. For instance, like, well, and I see some sisters coming around. A lot of sisters is coming around getting on sexy red heels. I feel like she might have been the last straw that really woke some of these sisters up. Because I've been seeing a couple queens tear her up and really start to go in on this music thing. So now that we looked at some point of origins, let's sling some mud and look at some things. We have a huge accountability space. When a people have been told so many times, it's just like a child who you keep telling a child they messing up. Well, after a while, they get into their head they can't do nothing right, and then you'll see a poor me behavior start to develop because they shell shocked from getting in trouble so much. So like that's black folks in a nutshell. So we've had so many things, we've been told we're wrong about so many things from other races that when we get amongst each other, we refuse. We don't want to hear that. So now, accountability. You can't ever expect a man to listen who's not being listened to. And I'm just gonna ram off some things. This is things on both sides that, you know, if y'all paying attention, this is gonna help you. And I'm gonna keep it fair on both ends. If you're paying attention, this will help you. Men are naturally leaders. Men are natural leaders. Good men are natural leaders. So it is something to a man who everybody, you guys think about it. You got a man who is he's a leader amongst whoever his group of people who really follow him are. He's outspoken. He's somebody that people respect. But the woman and his home doesn't listen to him. See, that is what takes the spirit out of men. Not being listened to because men are natural leaders. So even if once you hear us out, you don't agree, it's all about approach. Like I give y'all an example. I seen and I wanted to say this, but today I've been all over the place. So it's this older sister who be doing TikToks. I can't remember her name, and she be doing TikToks trying to show women where they going wrong talking to their man. And so she asked them, what's the problem from the woman perspective? And then the woman went in about like his kids don't clean up after themselves. And she just was real, you know, your kids, the ones that you had, they sit around here. You leading a bad example of them. They play video games all day because they watch you do it. So just sit around, eat up all the food, and play video games, and don't do nothing. And you act like you don't see it and don't say nothing to. And she stopped. She stopped and shook her head. She said, "Come here, baby. Come sit over here. Watch this." She went over to the husband. She sat real next to him. She cuffed his arm and her arm and was rubbing her hand while she was talking. She said, "Baby, you know, the boys lately have been displaying some things and some characteristics and behaviors that I'm pretty sure you don't approve of. Being the type of man that you are, and I know the type of young men that you want them to be, I don't think you would approve of some of the things they've been doing. And I'm just wondering if when you get a chance, you could just talk to them. because I know that this is not aligning with what you would want for them. He's so caught up. He didn't start yes, baby, and like he talking to his wife for real, like yes, baby, okay, baby, I got you. and that is the power that women possess that I don't think you all understand anymore. That comprehension has been taken from you because you've been forced to play defense so much. But what I'm saying is, it's damn near nothing you can't get your man to do when brought to him the right way. And that is the basis of all relationships, is proper communication. And I'm aggressive, and sometimes I get frustrated quick. And so I have to get better at, when I'm frustrated, not talking to my wife, not just coming out because I'm angry. And so I want her to know I'm angry. So I'm going to say certain things. I try to get better at not even approaching certain scenarios when I'm angry, and try to wait for a more level moment to where I can say it right and she can receive it right. And then it's all about communication and getting an understanding. And that's the basis of everything. But both parties have to be willing to do two things: hold yourself accountable and listen honestly to what the actual, I don't want to say complaint or discrepancy is. And so we get frustrated, and we already in our mind, we already think we know what the problem is, so we know what the solution is, so we really don't want to hear it. And you could be right, but it doesn't give your partner a good feeling of this moment is inclusive. And sometimes just to have the moment be inclusive, it'll take you eons farther than if it's a dictatorial moment and one person feel like they being dictated to more so than they feel is necessary at the moment. So it's accountability is the biggest thing in the dynamic of relationships. Being willing to say, hey, I'm gonna take that one. I'm gonna take one for the team. I did that. Or you're right, maybe I shouldn't have said it like that. Because what's more important than making, and both parties should be thinking like this, what's more important than making the other person comfortable? Now, not at the risk of you feeling awkward, but that initial moment of one understand that has to be a real moment. That initial moment of wanting an understanding has to be a real moment. Because a lot of times we just want to get past the moment because we're angry. But that initial moment where we're going to try to understand each other, both parties got to take that deep breath and say, I really want to hear her or him out. Fuck how I feel. I know I'm angry, but I really want them to have this moment to say what they're trying to say. I need them to get that out honestly, so that after they get it out, they don't feel impeded. They don't feel unattended to or not listened to. Then everybody need an honest moment for you everybody need an honest moment to get their shit out. And then we can go from there. But if you never get that moment, honestly, fuck giving me that moment and you really don't mean it. Because people could feel your energy. But if I honestly give you that moment, then you should honestly give it back. And everything starts with that. The whole thing is what's really in your heart when you're doing and saying these things. When I tell you, I'm telling y'all the key to this shit. When I tell my woman, no, baby, say what you got to say. I really want to hear you. At the moment when I say that, what do I really mean? Do I really genuinely want to hear her out? Or am I just saying it? That shit matters. That shit matters. Because if I genuinely want to get past a problem, usually I can. But it also exposes if there's one person in the party who really don't want peace, you expose them once you become the one who genuinely wants peace. But what's going to happen more often than not is you're going to see your spouse relax a little bit. Once they see you sincerely want to get to the bottom, it'll be a relaxing thing between the tension of break, and then we can gain some ground. But the biggest problem is not us per se. It's us not understanding that our behaviors initially stem from an indoctrination system. And so we have to meet each other in the space of two hurt people trying to get better. So I gotta be able, and this is the hard part, but this is what makes real relationships, and this is hard for everybody. But when I look to someone and say, and especially, and this is a big thing for women, I have to say this, I have to personalize this for the queens too, because it's easy all the time. I hear women saying they want men to be better leaders. I don't think you understand what that really means. So let me explain. If you want your man to be a better leader, but every time he tell you what he thinking, you got it figured out already, he's not really doing anything. What makes a good leader is when he suggests something, you are not totally in agreement with it, but you do it anyway because you said you want a better leader. So you put your pride to the side and you follow something you're not sure about, and he's right. That's what makes a good leader. Someone who can see the angle that you can't. Ain't no sense in somebody you can see everything he can see. The real leader is the man who can suggest things that are slightly past your visionary spectrum, and more often than not, he turns out to be right. So what am I saying? You cannot ask for a good leader and be a lousy follower. A good leader requires good followers. That's why in a classroom, there's good students and bad ones. You can't be a bad student and say, teacher, why aren't I learning? So we have this dynamic, and I'm going to play both sides. Men in the last 20 to 30 years, I'm going to say the last 25-ish, 20 to 30 years, have been tremendous fuck-ups. I mean, tremendous with a capital T. We have literally 360 the dynamics of Black relationships. I get it. As on behalf of the male species, I'm willing for us to take most of the blame. But we have to move past it. So moving past it, here's what the real issue is. The issue is not whether Black men are bad leaders or Black women are not submissive enough. The real issue is selection. You all have a selection problem. And your selection problem is because you have a lying problem. You lie too goddamn much, which means y'all meet each other, y'all lie about shit you should be honest about, and then you have people falling in love with the lying ass you. And then when shit don't add up, you want to keep telling them they tripping. No, you just lied in the beginning. So they fell in love with your lying ass. And so what we have to start doing is basing relationships on reality. Meet people and tell the truth in the beginning. Listen, it's somebody for everybody. So male or female, doesn't matter what your sex is. If you is an undercover slut bucket, be honest. Because there are undercover slut buckets for both male and female, and somebody will fall in love with you. Don't feel like you're just going to be a lonely slut bucket forever. That's not true. It's never happened. There's always been somebody for everybody. People die lonely because they're assholes, not because they're slut buckets. Slut buckets live happily ever after quite frequently. So what I'm saying is, but they live happily ever after with other slut buckets because y'all couldn't figure it out. But, or you got these gorilla Negroes. You can't stop thinking about the boxing career you never had, and every time you see your woman, she remind you of the ass whooping that you should have gave, but you didn't when you got fucked up, so you punch on her. See, there's a lot of people lying. If you prefer to be dating a professional boxer, tell her, so she can either start taking some karate classes or get the fuck away from your abusive ass. But we come into these relationships and we're lying because we're broken and we're battered and we're shattered. And we haven't had therapy for our last 5 fucking relationships. So we come in pitching. It's like a sales campaign. We're trying to sell ourselves to this new person who we think is special. So we give them all the fly, clothes, convo, everything is up to par for 90 days. And then the real you arrives and we lost. Like, where the fuck did you come from? So we need, of course, I'm putting 10 on 20, but what I'm saying is we got to enter these relationships honestly. We got to tell our pros and our cons, our positive, negatives, our shortcomings, where we strong at. We got to really lay that out on the table and allow people to decide if that's the person they want, honestly. And then if we can get honesty in the beginning, I think it'll help along down the line when some friction can come. We can at least say, well, you know what? There's this, and this I don't like about this person. This I do like about the person. But one thing is they've always been square with me. So that's a place I can build from, or I can leave where it's at, whatever the case may be. We have to enter these relationships, friendships, partnerships, business deals. We have to enter them honestly. You have to want the best for whoever you're in a situation with. And you have to understand what it feels like every time somebody dropped the ball on you. So I never want to be in a position where I drop the ball on somebody else, because I know what it felt like every time somebody dropped the ball on me. Instead, we prefer to find a way to say that we got victimized. You can't be a victim in a consensual situation. So we got to stop with the saying somebody victimized us that we consented to have in our life. These are grown-up decisions we're making. There are no victims as a grown-up. If you have a child with somebody and he or she turn out to be a fuckhead, that simply means you two didn't know each other well enough before y'all made babies. Hey, same thing with me and my baby mama. And I've been knowing, or the mother of my children, I knew her forever. But we had never lived together, and there's certain things that we just didn't know. So when we got to that space, we was young and wasn't prepared for that. A lot of us have relationships and babies out of wedlock at a young ass age. Well, if you're not married and you're under 30, who the fuck under 30 really knows what the hell they want? Most of us don't. So then you're bringing a child into a iffy situation. You start a family relationship in iffy situation. You haven't taken into account that the guy who you are crazy about is a drug dealer, and black men are the most incarcerated in America. Did you look at the statistics on that when y'all was driving around in a Lambo? I'm just saying, all of these different scenarios where we would like to blame other people, we all have fault in it. So ain't no sense of pointing fingers. What did I do to create this scenario? If I'm in a relationship and it didn't last as long as I want, no matter what that person did, I still have fault in this, because had I known this person better, certain things wouldn't have happened. Had I paid better attention to the signs, things don't just happen out the blue. There's usually there's always warning before destruction. So I guess my take on it, to nip the whole relationship thing in the bud, I think it's about self. I think a relationship is two-part. It's the most selfishly giving thing you could do, because you're giving your entire self to someone else, saying, I care for you so much, I trust you so much, I want you to be this close to me. On the flip side, you're saying, I care for you so much, I only want you to be with me exclusively. So it's a selfishly giving thing that's dangerous. And so we shouldn't play with it. And most of us don't intentionally, but we have to understand the dynamics of it. Two people are about to change each other's lives. And two people are about to change for each other. And that has to be respected. But the journey starts with self. It starts with me saying, okay, I want to be a good person. I want to be an honest person. I want to be, it's not how well you can love another person. It's how lovable can you be to somebody else. Can you be lovable as well as you can love somebody? Because some of us love hard, but we not lovable for shit. And so the journey of relationships is a selfishly giving thing, because it's about self. I want this individual to be with me. That's a selfish thought. So I have to do certain things. It cannot be about what simply makes you tick in this scenario. Relationships become the when you get to the real part, it's about the other person. So he has to wake up every day trying to see what's the best way to make sure she good. And she has to wake up trying to see what's the best way to make sure he good. And if this is what stays in mind, then every problem will eventually, and I don't even believe in problems, every scenario, situation will eventually get ironed out. There has to be balance within self. And a lot of times, the reason why we're not having good relationships, or we haven't found that certain somebody, or whatever we're looking for, is because we still need to work on self. And there's nothing wrong with that. If you're looking around and you're feeling like, okay, the person, I don't have that person or persons, or I don't, my relationship game ain't where I want it to be. The only thing that means is there's a couple areas you still working on. As you iron those areas out, your energy will attract what's best for you. And so I think our startup point be all wrong. These relationships coming from the club and the Twerk Fest 2023 and shit, and the New Year's Eve, and the fucking Christmas, well, I can't say nothing about New Year's Eve. That's where my wife came from. But so anybody who met on New Year's Eve, y'all might make it. But nah, all bullshit aside, the company Christmas party and shit like that. You can't trust no nigga wearing a Santa Claus suit. I'm gonna tell you that right now, women. If you meet a guy in a Santa Claus suit, he's suspect. Especially if he's a black man still dressing like Santa Claus, I wouldn't trust him. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't care where he work at, what he look like, what his credentials is. Any black man that would still put on a goddamn Santa Claus suit and talk to black children, in my opinion, is a dangerous. He's a danger to black America. People getting the relationships out of loneliness, and loneliness is a dangerous space to be in. But I say this. Here's the thing about it. It's all about honesty. So if loneliness is the issue, then there's nothing wrong with a person deciding to say, I'm going to start dating. The only thing is you have to be honest to the people you encounter. I had a relationship, blah, blah, blah. I took off for a minute. Now it's been a year and I haven't seen anybody. And then, I just want to do some dating and just kind of see what's out there. Now, if you say that to me when I meet you, I could either respect it or get the fuck away from you. I could take that as, okay, well, that means she's finna run through a couple of guys. Let me fall back in 6 months, see how she made out. Or that could mean like, shit, well, if she dating, that means she on the market. If tonight go right, maybe she won't be dating no more. I mean, it's all, but in that space, you gave me the respect to choose. You didn't come through like, yeah, no, I, just haven't really been dating, haven't even been thinking about it. Like after tonight, I'll probably never go out again. It's about just being real with people. And you be real with people, you attract real people. And then it'll be easier to find what it is you're looking for. But you're right. Loneliness creates a lot of dangerous situations because it can change your behavior. It can turn you into somebody you're not. You start accepting things you wouldn't. You start making amenities in places where you shouldn't. So loneliness can turn brutal. But then that goes back to what I said. It's about getting to know self, because if you get to know self, it's hard to be lonely. That's a tough space when you don't know self. Unhealed people out here dating. Well, I mean, if we go that route, we're all unhealed. So shit, dating is dangerous to all of us. We're all unhealed. And that's what this discussion is about. But I get what you're saying too, though. Like coming rebounding off a relationship and you're not really you're not really back on the right mental plane and you're trying to jump back into a relationship. That's common too, because a lot of times the way people deal with relationships is not think about them and start another one. So you always, and that's why I said it's about getting in tune with self, being honest with self and saying like, okay, scenario you just gave, and then you go out and you meet somebody and then you like, he or she, they kind of cute. Ain't really my speed, but fuck it, I hang out with them. What that is right there is you're knowing you're not really healed but just doing some things. Now, a lot of times that's where you end up in those bad relationships, abusive relationship, bad scenario, end up with a cheater, end up because you didn't enter that situation in the right mind frame. True. I think people who don't, you know what, let me start. Let's just do it like this. I'm finna start putting you and the queen on blast. True, I think people who don't love themselves find others to love because they don't know how to be by themselves. People who don't love themselves. I agree. And that is I don't even think that's a tough statement because people who don't love themselves, I don't even think that they recognize that's what it is. When you don't love yourself, the only thing that means actually is that you've never been loved properly. Anyone who doesn't love themselves, that just means they've never been loved properly. Because if you've been loved properly, you take value in that and you find identity in that. Because a person who really loves you, you'll find out why. You'll find out what makes that person feel that way about you. And then in that space is where you'll find identity and love for yourself. So you just haven't been loved by anybody properly if you don't love yourself. And now, so now when you use it that way, that's why you see those people frequently ending up in abusive relationships or getting hurt because they never been loved in the first place properly. So it's easy to get in a situation and allow someone to mistreat them because they don't have a bar for what's standard. And then it happens a lot with young ladies, and that's why if nothing else, I always show my daughter that like in any time it's a man ain't gonna act right in your life, your daddy here. So she always had a standard of if you can't play at a certain level, then nigga, I know my daddy can. And so it's important for everybody to at some point experience that or to give that experience to their loved one or to their children. So yeah, you super right with everything you're saying right there, Queen. And that's important though. That that we can even identify these things and say, within self to say, I'm behaving like this because I'm not healed from my last scenario. I'm behaving like this because you know what? Now that I think about it, ain't no man never really loved me the right way. Something that I'm share with y'all that I've shared with my wives, living how corrupt I've lived, and you have to, it's a two-way street. Listen to the first part. I've lived a life of corruption. So now, from that standpoint, I would make a statement and say, I've never really had too many honest people, man or woman, in my life, but especially women. And so now, on one side, you can play the victim and say, you know, I never had an honest woman. But then on the flip side, as I realized, look at the first part of what I said. I've always lived corrupt. So when you always live corrupt amongst the predators, then it's going to be hard to come by honesty because your whole circle is predators and prey that don't want to be prey anymore. So if that's your life, then of course you're going to constantly encounter deception. It's when you can surround yourself in surroundings that are not the same, then you'll probably get different results. So everything, no matter how bad it is, quote unquote, it's still my responsibility. Everything is my responsibility. So if the real problem is I'm unhealed, it's my responsibility to figure that out before it's too late. If the real problem is I've never really been loved properly, therefore I don't love myself, it's my responsibility to figure that out. Because the only issue is there's no guarantee about anything. So say you enter an unhealed scenario and you can't recognize that it's the fact that you're unhealed that's adding to the drama. Yeah, you could have somebody who's an asshole, however, they searching just like you. So if you are someone who could recognize I'm adding to this because I'm not healed, then you could slow it down and potentially save you and the other person. That's why it's always about you. Because if I get too caught up in what you're doing wrong, then I can't see what I'm doing to contribute to all of this. And then so now we're both just yelling back and forth at each other. So I have to be, and it's something that I'm working on intentionally. I'm not fixed. I'm working on this intentionally to be able to say, hey, let's reel it in for a minute and see how I played a part into whatever's going on wrong right now. And then if I can find where I'm wrong and catch it, then maybe I could stop it before it go somewhere it don't need to go. It's always all of our responsibility to, as they say, clean out your own backyard. So in relationships, the hardest part to do is not blame your partner and say, even if you think your partner wrong, what did I do to add to this scenario? That's to me, the indicator is accountability. Always is accountability for self. And I think I know in my scenario, it's been a couple times my wife have caught me being accountable and complimenting me on the fact that like baby, I see the effort you making on accountability and I appreciate it. That feels good because we frequently don't get rewarded at times when we feel we should, and then we feel like we've been overlooked and we use that as a justification to become problematic later on down the line. So it feels good when your partner see your effort and point it out and say, hey, I see you. So that's something else to keep in mind. Don't be scared to friend or partner. It could be a friend. It could be somebody maybe you're interested in but you ain't with yet. Whatever the case may be, don't be scared to let people know I see your effort. Or if let's just say yesterday didn't go well with you and your significant other, today is a better day. It's okay to understand, shit, I probably contributed to yesterday. Let me make sure whether I have to verbally say something to them or I have to just take my own accountability and say, okay, I'm gonna have a invested effort because I know in my heart I contributed to yesterday going funky. So today I'm gonna take a different approach and try to make everybody more comfortable. It's everybody's responsibility. It's your responsibility to make sure, like, I'm gonna do my part. Period. I'm gonna do my part in making sure that we function better as a team. And if both parties continually think that, you can't fuck that up because eventually you're gonna meet in the middle. We don't have the luxury of time or logical mental capacity to sit around and say what the problem with each other is. If you don't like the behavior of the black man, it's only one thing I can tell you for sure. If you don't like the behavior of the black man, it's only one thing I can guarantee you for absolutely for sure. Should you get rid of him, you ain't getting another one. And if you don't like the behavior of the black woman, guess what? You don't have a choice. It's not like God literally put a man with each woman. Each race has got a man, a woman, and a child. If you wasn't supposed to care about each other, you would have just been born something else. but you was born the same as your race, which means you have no choice but to either deal with them or die with them. You could deal with the black woman or you could die with her, or die without her, actually. You could deal with her or you could die without her. No race has ever gone to war and said, fuck our women. We're going to figure it out. Like, who going to feed you dumb niggas when you come off the battlefield? Niggas don't want to chase wild boars and roast them over campfires after you've been at war all day. Shit. We got to take it back to the old days. This shit might end back up in teepees and huts and shit. And if so, ain't going to be no cable TV. You Negroes ain't going to come home to no big screens. Get your ass in this tent. Eat this motherfucking boar meat. I'm just saying, man. It's late in the fourth quarter, man. We don't got time to be arguing over petty shit. Like, we're stuck together. You came on this planet together, and you're leaving together. It's no other option. You can't get a redo. Ain't no receipts. You can't take the black man back to God with an employee discount and a coupon. Like, I know what you said, but ain't no newer models coming out in February. None of that shit. You're stuck with who you're stuck with on this planet. You can understand what you're up against, or you can continue to do what you've been doing, which is pretend your ass ain't hog-tied and in trouble. We have no choice but to choose each other. We have no choice but to choose each other. Now, we going to Clubhouse, and I'm tired and hungry, so y'all better bring your ass home. We going to Clubhouse 8:30. And we're gonna open it up and have some conversation. And I promise y'all, I keep saying that I'm not doing all the talking tonight. If y'all ain't talking tonight, we're gonna shut that bitch down. So we're going to Clubhouse, Misinformation Nation. Let's get it. Knowledge is the only real power. Information is the only real currency. And the balance of them both is the route to divinity. I love y'all. I'm gone.